Hey everybody, Stacey Murphy here, and it is blazing hot. It's 100 degrees out, so I just thought I'd shoot this quick video in the shade here. Sorry, it's a little bit dark. So I recently got a gift from my friend Marjory Wildcraft. She's awesome, and she gave me a 3-stage composter bin called the Aeroplus, and I wanted to test it out. Now, this video is too short to go into all of the how-tos of compost, but I just wanted to give you my initial thoughts about this composter in case you were thinking about buying it. So this particular style compost is called aerobic compost. It means that you're mixing organic materials together, and they need air in order to propagate all of that aerobic bacteria that digests all that food. And as it digests, it heats up the compost bin, and then you typically turn an aerobic compost bin to kind of mix the materials together and also keep the temperature within the range that you want, because those bacteria can heat it up so much that it can go outside of the range that you want. And then basically eventually the compost matures and all the insects come in and the worms come in and they help with their worm castings and all of that. So it's a beautiful process. So if aerobic composting is your thing, like it's my thing, you might want to check out this composting bin. Now, what's cool about this bin is you can buy it. It comes in a flat container to your house. It's lightweight. It's super easy to assemble. Now, the directions are all in German, but it didn't matter because the parts fit together so well and it's just so straightforward. So I thought the total time that we put it together was, how much time do we spend? I think we spent maybe an hour, but some of that time was us like, wow, isn't this cool? What does this do? So we could have put it together much faster if we weren't so enthralled with it in that process. All right, so we put it together, and then how did it compare to my typical compost bin? Now, my typical compost bin is a pallet, and basically I just layer materials in there, and I like the workout of going out and turning it. So how does this bin compare? Well, the cool thing is it's got 3 distinct stages for compost. Now, I'm not going to go into it, this video is too short, but there's 3 stages of compost that have to do with what temperature ranges and what kind of, what type of aerobic bacteria is present or insects are present. They're present in different temperature ranges, breaking down that food. And so what's cool about this bin is that you put it in the first bin, which is kind of small. That's the one downfall that I found, is that that first bin is kind of small, and we're loading it up and we're loading it up over time. We're layering in our kitchen scraps and then our yard scraps, our browns, or if we don't have yard scraps, we use coffee chaff, which is basically something that you can get from your local coffee roaster. It's not the same as coffee grounds. This is coffee chaff. It's what comes off the bean when the coffee is roasted. So we pour those in layers. We always put in our food scraps and then put on top some browns, and that helps to keep the nitrogen from escaping. So we're layering it in there. Now, here's the one downfall I found for our particular bin, is that somehow, I'm not sure how, but it's a little bit wetter than when we layer it in our other bin. Somehow maybe condensation is getting in there. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but I found that I have to use a little bit more dry material because it's getting wetter in there than my normal compost bin. So you got to get that ratio just right so it's not too wet. Now what's cool is it did its thing. So that first stage totally worked. It heated up. It got to like 130 degrees. And when I pushed it, basically what you do is you open a flap and you push the material into the second part of the compost bin, in the back middle part of the compost bin. And when I did that, I saw the steam coming up. So it's definitely working. It's reaching those temperatures that we want it to reach to get really good compost. And then there's side flaps where you can add a little bit of air if you want airflow. So those were cool too. So I dumped it in that middle bin, and we let it cook there again for a couple more weeks. And basically, there was no rocket science to how many weeks. It was like when the first one got full, because it's so small, when it got full, we pushed it into the second bin. So there wasn't a magic number in terms of number of weeks. For us, it only took 2 weeks to make that top component full, because we've got like 11 people in our house. So we pushed it to the second area. Now this is my second downfall to this particular bin. It disappears. I can't see it. I don't know what's going on. Like if it's lumpy, I don't know. If I was turning my compost bin and it were lumpy, I could break it up a little bit. But I'm just trusting that I'm just dumping it into the next bin and I can't see what the breakdown looks like, all right? So I dumped it in there and we let it sit another 2 weeks because now the top is ready again to go to the middle part. So now the middle part goes to the bottom part. So what's cool, I love this design feature. You reach around to the side of the bin and you pull this lever, and there's a plank in there that just drops, and basically the area where the compost in just drops to the bottom. So now you're in your third part of the compost, and it's turned for you. It automatically turns for you. So that's really cool. And it fell down, and what I saw was that a lot of our eggshells weren't broken up the way that I would have broken them up had I been turning it regularly. The passion fruit rinds hadn't broken down, which I would have kind of broken up a little bit on my own. Avocado pits hadn't been broken down 100%, which I would have kind of broken in half so that they could compost more if I was turning it myself. So there's some bits and pieces in there that are behind the curve of the compost. But overall, it definitely looks like it's on its way to its garden. So in 4 weeks' time, we did have some material that we could have put in the garden that looked pretty good. But it was nice to let it mature even longer in that lower area. So overall, I think it's a really cool design for a family who, let's say you don't want to turn compost. That's not your thing. This might be a good deal for you because it's so easy to use, and it's not like when you pull it out, you just grab it out of the bottom. It's not inside of something that you have to, like, if you have one of those tumblers that tumbles, I don't like those personally, because you got to figure out how to empty that thing. Whereas this deal, you just pull it out of the bottom of the compost. So I find that to be much easier. So if you're somebody who wants easy compost, doesn't want to see the process at all, you just want to put it in there and just let it do its thing, and this is probably a compost bin for you. All right, so with that said, that's my very, very brief overview of this machine. I'm going to compare more efficiencies. What I did sense is that it's a little bit slower than when I turn my compost personally, but the benefit is that I'm not turning compost, and I'm not spending a whole lot of time with it. So if that's a trade-off that makes sense for you, then this might be something that you would be interested in. All right, so that's just a really brief review of this, and post your comments below, post your questions about it below. I can always shoot another video just to show you guys more about this machine. It's pretty cool. All right, take care, everybody. See you later.